Buongiorno. We're gonna go ahead and keep talking about the Sopranos because that's what we're doing. That's what we're gonna keep doing until the end of season 6. So now, after this video, we'll start season 4 because that's just how numbers go: 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna go deep, so deep it might even put your butt to sleep because there's so much good stuff going on in this half of the 3rd season. So let's go ahead and get started. Paulie sniffs Adriana's underwear while he is like raiding Christopher and Adriana's apartment with Furio. And yeah, I mean, previously I stated that I love Paulie, and this half of the season, it's funny how fast shit changes, right? But I guess now that we're seeing, I mean, I'm just, as a woman, like as a girl, that kind of creepy, I was like, what do you even get? They're clean, right? Like, they're clean underwear. Are they going to smell like, I don't know, whatever. It didn't make sense to me, and it was just strange. And I was going to say something, but it's kind of gross, so never mind. Yeah, so that's weird, right? And Paulie catches Christopher. Well, first of all, Paulie hears from Tony that Christopher saw that happen. So then Paulie is like, hey man, you come to me. You have a problem with me, you come to me. You don't go to the big guy, right? So he follows him, I guess, finds him when he's already sleeping with some other woman. And yeah, he ends up showing him that Billy the Bass. And they have a laugh about it at the end, which is so weird because I'm like, is he trying to say something? Is Paulie trying to say something? Is there that undertone of like, don't do that again, or else I'm gonna like, get rid of you? Or is it really just funny? I don't know. I don't know. Carmela in this episode ends up going to a psychiatrist. And I think the very interesting thing about that is that the guy is super cold, right? Like, is that just to show us like how like she's going to have to completely disconnect from her emotions to like get rid of this guilt that she's feeling, which is a complete opposite to, of course, later on when she goes to the church again, how the church is like telling her like, you must try to work with it, try to live with it, or try to work through it, and continue staying married, and he's not a bad man. Whereas the psychiatry is like, or the psychiatrist is like, it's very obvious he's a bad man, he does bad things, you are bad because you are taking these things from this bad man who does bad things to obtain these things. Like, it's just, it was a very, yeah, of course, it's not emotional, right? So that was a nice little contrast. She's like feeling guilty. We see her like lying down during the day for once, and it's just, yeah, she just ends up staying with Tony um, because she loves him. Also, because she probably realizes that she's going to have to start from scratch. When the psychiatrist told her he doesn't take blood money, come on. That was kind of harsh, but I get it. I respect it, And then Junior having so much faith in Dr. Kennedy. Dr. Kennedy does, which there's a lot in a name, which is why Junior loves him so much too, right? It's a powerful comforting name, right? Kennedy. And so he has all this faith in Dr. Kennedy. Tony comes in, he starts being concerned for his uncle, because he's like, dude, like my uncle is old, you're already going to get him in for another surgery, you know? So he kind of is, he feels weird about it, which it's makes sense. Um, but yeah, and then for the doctor to not return the phone calls, this is one of the funniest scenes when Furio and Tony went to the golf course to go talk to Dr. Kennedy. So funny. I love it. I love Furio just like, you know, hitting the hat, being like, there's a bee in your hat. That was terrible. That was terrible, but it's all right. And what else does he say? He goes, a stupid fucking game. And it's just so good. So good. I love it. I love how Tony is like, hey, show this dude the respect that he deserves, right? But I feel like it would be for anyone, like not just Junior. It should be like every patient deserves a call back, right? Unless it's, I don't know, not important or something that, I don't know. But anyway, enough about that. Yeah, funny scene. So Tony and Ralphie have beef, and uh, Johnny Sack comes in the middle, right? And for some reason, he's not even supposed to be there, right? Which we'll probably repeat that later on. And he's not even supposed to be there. He's just living there, but he's not supposed to be sticking his nose in. But he gets in between, and he's like a messenger, and he's like very selective about the things that he tells Tony that Ralphie said. Even though Ralphie was like, I don't want Capo, that's not going to fix it. Of course, he's going to take it. And Johnny Sack is like, listen, that's the best you're going to get, too. So I'm just going to ask for you. You know, I'm just going to throw it out there. Tony says no, of course. And the weirdest thing happens where Gigi dies on the toilet. Like, and then we have to think back about how Uncle Junior was telling Uncle Junior. Now we have to think back to how Junior was telling Tony, like, hey, you need to make Ralphie capo. I guess, you know, if you take Gigi off though, it's gonna make you look insecure and weak, all that stuff. So it's a tough choice. Tough choice. You want to look weak and insecure, or you know, you just want to let this thing keep going on. So in a very strange like twist of events, um Gigi freaking dies, leaving that title of capo open for Ralphie to just come in and slide right in, and now that's just how that's settled, you know. So that was pretty crazy. Meadow and Jackie Jr. start dating, and Meadow just wrecks Jackie's car, and he finds like a soft spot for her because he didn't freak out about his car, even though she'd said, but Jackie, you love that car, right? So it's a sweet little moment between like young kids, right? They're like, oh, as long as you're okay. Oh, but you love that car. Oh, but I just, it's cute, right? So it's like maybe there is hope for them, right? Maybe they do really like each other and it could turn into something. And of course, they understand each other's lives because this is all stuff that's going on. Like all the organized crime around them, they know what it is, and they can't share any of that stuff, really, right? Or like their friends don't understand. So there's like the similarity, and I think that's why it's also a big thing for them, right? So that is the beginning of that relationship. Uh, Jackie Jr. goes to Thanksgiving, and he meets Janice's boyfriend, and the dude has narcolepsy. They're like, Tony's making fun of him and throwing stuff at him because he falls asleep, right? And he wakes up. He wakes up and he's like, have you heard of the good news? He is risen. And it's like the strangest thing. And then he's going to repeat it a second time, right? And Jackie Jr.'s like, oh yeah, we met already. But it's like, isn't that freaking weird, man? That was so strange. So strange. But what does that mean? Like, let's just take it out of that conversation, right? Or of that greeting. And he is risen. And what else is happening in the episode? Like, Ralphie rises up in rank, right? Is that what it's referring to? Like, is that like a big freaking deal that Ralphie is like with big dogs now? Also, just wanted to clarify that I am aware that the he is risen is referring to Jesus Christ. So we get Gloria coming in, new character, and she is a character, and Tony likes her for it. They meet at the waiting room at Dr. Melfi's office, and oh, I should probably. They meet in the waiting room of Dr. Melfi's office, and she cracks a joke about how she's there because she's a murderer because she has murdered 7 relationships, and he gets a kick out of it. He laughs. He like keeps thinking about her. He sees a commercial on the TV for Mercedes because she sells Mercedes. She's like a Mercedes saleswoman, and yeah, that's how it all starts. They end up getting together. She cancels an appointment with Dr. Malfi to be with Tony. Okay, so crazy. She puts her own mental health, which is already saying a lot. It's like you should be taking care of yourself and your brain, your emotions, your life, and instead you're gonna put that on hold for a week for a Tony Soprano, you know? And then Dr. Melfi hears Tony Soprano on the phone in the background, which is so crazy. And what can she do? But yeah, we meet Gloria, big red flag. They go to the zoo. Tony and Gloria go to the zoo, and they're gonna like do it in front of a big snake. What does that say? Does she end up being a snake? And then, talking about snakes, what about when Polly and Tony are at the Bada Bing, and they're talking about snakes and about how snakes have like both female and male organs, right? So who knocks at the door? Jackie Jr. knocks at the freaking door as they're talking about snakes. What does that mean? What does that mean? I got such a kick out of this episode. Such a kick out of it. Also, I do want to talk about like that scene where Tony is waiting for Ralphie at the restaurant, and Christopher and Polly are at the front. They're waiting for Ralphie. They let Ralphie pass by. They're watching the whole conversation between him and Tony. Tony's still eating. Tony doesn't stop eating. Tony is not showing Ralphie any respect, right? And Ralphie's there to apologize after Johnny Sack told Ralphie, "Oh, he wants to talk to you. He's excited to hear about you, whatever, or from you." He goes, Tony is like the complete opposite, but I guess that was the only way to get them both there, right? Um, Ralphie is like waiting for Tony to invite him to sit down. He's waiting for Tony to invite him to have a drink with him, and he doesn't do it. He just tells him to leave. That was so intense. Because isn't it a big deal with these types of things where Ralphie didn't accept the drink from Tony? It is a big deal. And they're talking about it, you know, because it is like a big, like, F you. if someone goes, and of course, we only know that because of the situation that they're already in, that they don't like each other. So when it's a big, like, I didn't accept his drink, because he was talking to his guys about that too, right? He knew what he was doing. He knew what the undertones are there, right? So that was, it was very interesting because it literally is just like, no, I don't want to drink. But there's so much to it, you know? AJ gives Carmela a Matrix DVD, which was so funny because Sal and I were just talking about Joe Pontoliano and how he was in the Matrix as that guy that eats the steak, right? Um, so I thought that was pretty cool, pretty funny. It was just like a strange, or like a very funny timing, I guess. AJ trashes the school. He throws a bunch of stuff from one of the teacher's office into the pool, into, yeah, the freaking school pool. And I thought that was like a dream sequence at first, because it was just so weird. The lighting, and then like the girls just eating pizza, like it was very strange. But I guess it was like after hours, right? They could just hang out in the school. They threw all this stuff in the pool. They they were like savages, right? Straight up savage. And Tony and Carmela are, they disagree. They end up disagreeing about what they should do about it. The school is like, hey, he's okay. Yeah, he's not going to have to stop going to football. He can still do that, you know, because it benefits them. No, we just think that it should be up to you. Whatever you want to punish him has to go on at home. But here, if he does it like one more time, we're going to have to expel him. I don't know. The whole thing is crazy. But here is where we're finally seeing like AJ just, he can't even say why he did it. Carmela's like giving him options too. She's like, "Do you hate the school? Like what the heck?" And he's like, "I don't know. It just happened." Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty big it just happened, you know. And then we get Jackie Jr. almost getting caught at the bada bing talking to Chris, which is already not something that Tony wanted him to do. First of all, being at the bada bing, it's strippers, right? There's strippers there. If Jackie is going to be dating Meadow, there's no freaking way Tony Soprano is going to let him be at a place like that. Second of all, to talk to Christopher about business. No, hell no. Jackie gets the hell out of there. And then later on, he still gets caught by Tony at this casino. It's crazy. Like, it was just bound to happen. This kid is just at the wrong place at the wrong time every single time, right? So I think Tony already knows, like, this guy's no good for my daughter, right? And we get Adriana. Oh, she had like that's why I'm actually wearing this leather jacket. Everyone had amazing leather in these last couple episodes of season 3. And that is why I'm wearing this jacket. But anyway, Adriana's jacket is like this cool leather jacket with fringe on it. And it like, she looks so good when she spins around. Okay, sorry. Let's go back. So she's now like the owner of this club that Christopher gifted her, right? And the funniest thing there is like seeing Artie at opening night. There's like this band playing. He's like totally out of rhythm. Like it's just so bad. His dance moves are so strange. I can't even remember what they were. They're just so weird. But it was good TV. We get a flashback of 1995, Boca Raton, Florida. And Junior was out there. Pussy went out there to get Junior for a sit down with Jackie Sr. to settle some business, right? And the guys finally realize that that is probably when the feds got to Pussy. So they're remembering how Pussy like was unaccounted for a while, and supposedly he was at the hospital with his Gumar's mom, or his Gumar and his Gumar's mom. So the whole thing is weird. Jackie blows it off, and yeah, they leave it at that. But now that of course there's this knowledge that Pussy is gone because they had to get rid of him because he was with the feds. After all that, now their brains are like, but when did it happen? And this is when they look back and figure it out. Because Pussy was acting weird when he had the whole Santa Claus outfit um, for Christmas. And they also show this huge contrast between like Pussy and Bobby as Santa. And Bobby's like, we get the little kid in this episode that's like that's like cursing at Santa. It's funny. It's so funny. Charmaine jokes about the FBI to the guys. Also, she is finally like dressing up, right? And oh, we finally get Carmela telling Tony, like, oh, I know that you got with her back in high school. So that's been since season one, right? Dang, that was a long time. So it finally came back out, but it's not even that big of a deal. I mean, it kind of is, but not really. Tony catches Jackie Jr. getting a lap dance. Wrong place, wrong time, man. Um, and he beats him up in the bathroom of that same establishment. And Tony just has to suck it up once he sees Jackie Jr. come to his house on Christmas and still give Meadow a gift. And what can Tony say? Dude, Meadow already doesn't like him, right? So it's like a lose lose for him with the thing that he can do. What was his other option? But he's making faces the whole time, so it's a good time. It's super sweet that Meadow ended up getting Tony a gift, but what it wasn't very sweet, you know? Good for him for keeping his cool, but of course, it's another reminder of Pussy. Tony finally comes clean, I think, to Dr. Melfi about him and Gloria. So they end up talking about the relationship, which I guess is good for him to have a therapist because she could be like, listen, I'm not going to judge that you are cheating on your wife, uh, but let's talk about it. Like, why the hell are you doing this, right? Meadow is sick, and we see her in her dorm with Jackie Jr. They're playing Scrabble, and Meadow puts down oblique, and he's like, you can't use a Spanish word. What is that, oblique? And I was like, what the freak, man? What is that? And yeah, and we see Jackie Jr.'s words are like poo and ass. Pretty bad. That should have been a big sign already that he wasn't good for her. He wasn't even trying. That's the thing. She finds out that he's cheating on her, and she brings like the best hype girl with her to be like talking to the other girl, right? Um, what was her friend's name? Bashiva? Bush. I don't remember, but yeah, that was good times too. This is the episode where we get Polly just losing it. He's like getting a manicure, right? And he loses it because he's not supposed to be where he ends up later, which is collecting money from Valerie. Because that's Silvio's money. Silvio should be collecting that, right? So Polly ends up going with Christopher. This whole incident happens where this Russian guy, very, very, very thick accent, right? You could tell he's freaking Russian the way he talks. And I feel like the way he says things is like they're not meant to be like rude, right? They're not meant to be like rude, but it sounds freaking rude sometimes, right? So Polly, I don't think he gets that. And then on top of that, he's already mad, right? That he even had to be there. Just reminds me of Clerks. He's like, I'm not even supposed to be here today, you know? And he ends up like choking Valerie. Christopher has to help him. They wrap him up in a rug, throw him in the trunk of the car, drive up to North Jersey. They're gonna dump the body out there in the forest, you know, and he's not dead. He's moving around still. Freaking dude is in the cold. And he even says, like, the cold is nothing to me. You think this affects me? Like, no. And yeah, no, freaking guy disappears, man. So crazy, so funny. Um, Christopher and Polly end up having to stay there overnight because they don't know what way to go back to the car. And yeah, it just cracks me up because I just think about like Polly's hair, like all messed up, and his shoe like missing, how they end up like covering themselves with like this dirty rug from this work van that they find out there in the snow. And it's just when they eat the ketchup packets and the relish, it's if that's not good TV. Anyway, the whole thing is so funny. And I thought the cool thing about this that I didn't even know about until I read Wikipedia, which by the way, I try to stay away from those things like Wikipedia, like the Instagram, like everything regarding The Sopranos, because I really want it to be like untouched when I watch it, you know? And then once I'm done with everything, I think I'm gonna revisit and be like, oh yeah. So this is actually pretty cool because of like this and this. But this one I couldn't help it. This episode was directed by Steve Buscemi, right? And it just reminds me of him in Fargo. It's just like a quirky little connection. Like it's just Snow, Buscemi, Fargo. You know, just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, this episode is crazy. Valerie takes Polly's car. The money was in there. It's just a disaster. This is the episode where like Tony's phone keeps disconnecting when he's on the phone with Polly. So he does like this little hop when he's at home. He's like, oh no, I think he's with Gloria, right? No, he's at home with Gloria. I don't know. I can't remember. But he's on the phone and he can't hear anything. He's getting freaking mad. He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He does this little hop. This little hop. It's so funny. Like he's so mad, but he can't yell, you know? And the only way that this like extra heat and energy from him is gonna come out is like through this little hop. It's so funny. Um, we see Tony laughing at Bobby because Bobby comes prepared. Come on. If he hunts, that's the type of stuff that he's going to go out in, right? He's not going to go to freaking like Sears and buy winter gear at that time. You like it's just not going to happen. So he has his stuff in stock. And of course, it's like all like camo and like this very bright orange vest and Tony starts laughing at him, and we were kind of laughing too because it was just so unexpected. And it was cool how Tony apologizes later on, right? And then there's that disconnect where Bobby makes that joke to Tony, and Tony doesn't laugh; he just kind of stays quiet. But we also know Tony's a jokester, so we're just like, okay, that's not his type of humor, and it isn't. Like it's so completely not Tony Soprano humor, right? So yeah, there's that too. Meadow and Carmela are at the Brooklyn Museum, and Carmela's already having like this weird thing where she's spotting, and she doesn't know what's going on exactly. We see her getting very emotional at the sight of this painting of like she said it's baby Jesus, right? And Meadow looks at the plaque and she goes, "Oh, like marrying a baby," and Carmela says something along the lines of, yeah, that is what it is, isn't it? And so basically when she's looking at this baby, she's like maybe subconsciously thinking about Tony, right? She's like, look at the baby, it's so beautiful, blah blah blah. Which is why she made that comment. Because why would she liken Tony to that baby? Because she loves him, because she like forgives him for a lot of the shit that he does, because she loves him, because she sees him as like innocent, and she understands that he is the way he is because of the way his mother was and how cold she was. So the whole thing was very, it was so cute. It was just cute. And then later on we see her crying for a pedigree commercial. I don't know. But yeah, she it's not a baby, and she finally goes to talk to someone at the church, and it's like different, right? There was a different dynamic than when she talked to the psychiatrist. With the church, it is different. It's like, well, it's your husband. Well, you cannot break this um like holy matrimony that you guys have already, you know, gotten yourselves into. So for him it was like, just figure it out, you know. If you love him, you got to basically take the bad with the good. Cuz realistically, like, she loves Tony Soprano. She's not going to leave him, right? At least up until this point. I really don't know what happens in the next couple seasons, but I mean, it just, for right now, it doesn't seem like she's going to, because she's had all these opportunities. She's had people tell her to leave, and she hasn't done it. So yeah, that was very interesting. This is where we get that contrast, right? And then that's why we get Dr. Melfi saying, you know, you're never going to leave Carmela, Tony. She might leave you, but you're never going to leave her because she's stable. Carmela is stable. Carmela is like able to roll with the punches and like still be Carmela, you know, most of the time. Um, she's nothing like his mother. Meanwhile, he's having affairs with these women that are very like his mother emotionally, right? Like very unstable, very depressing and depressed. So, very like victim mentality women, right? And that's who he ends up banging in his boat, which is like, is that what the water is supposed to signify? The fact that he takes him to this boat, is that like his subconscious, right? Is that what's going on? But yeah, I think that's what it is, right? That's why he bangs both of them at the boat. The waters are like, what's going on in here? And then the thing, the phrase that Dr. Melfi uses to describe Tony and Gloria's relationship is based off of Tony's description of it, is amour faux, and it's like an all-consuming, passionate love or whatever, right? And Tony mishears it, or just, I mean, I don't even think it's mishearing it. I think that it's just such a foreign term that his brain is like, you know? So he calls it a mofo. He ends up saying a mofo. And when he breaks up with Gloria, he goes, this thing was fun, you know, this mofo of ours. And then the freaking fact that Dr. Melfi is trying to get through to him, like, she's no good for you because she's just like your mom. Like, doesn't she remind you of your mom? And then he finally gets it when they're in that huge fight. She's like, she sounds like Olivia did. Like, she is just like, oh yeah, it's just all about you. Well, blah, blah, blah. And then she starts saying stuff like, kill me, you know, and it's just so crazy. So, mofo, right? So, since Gloria is like his mom, right? Doesn't that mean that he was like subconsciously kind of looking for, I don't even know how to say it. Like, how would you put that? He ends up being a motherfucker because he's subconsciously picking these women that are like his mom. Does that make sense? So it's funny that he ends up calling the thing a mofo because that's what he's doing in a way. Jackie and Carlo hear this story from Ralphie about Jackie Sr. and how he started rising up in rank with Tony Soprano because they end up pulling off this hit and it actually allowed for them to become made men, right? And Jackie feels like he can replicate that with Carlo. I don't know. He's not really thinking, you know? And uh Ralphie's just telling the story because I really don't think that was Ralphie's intention to be like, you should do that. You know, he's just talking. Like the dude just talks a lot. So for Jackie Jr. to like take that and then just be like, bing, I should do that. It'll work the same way for me. If my dad can do it, I can do it, you know? Um, and the whole thing just goes wrong. Carlo ends up dying. Let's go back to that scene though, with Ralphie talking to Jackie Jr. and Carlo in the kitchen, in Rosalie's kitchen. Ralphie says, "Oh yeah, you know, this guy, he was an original gangster." And you see Carlo, it just cuts to Carlo and he goes, "He was an OG." And it's like the randomest, the most random, but super funny thing, dude, in that whole episode. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other good stuff in there, but I'm just, that one cracked me up. That one cracked me up. That was funny. But anyway, that whole thing goes wrong. Um, Tony ends up talking to Ralphie about the whole ordeal, and he's like, I don't know, man, it's up to you. It's your game. Whatever you want to do, I will, I'll support you or whatever, you know? So the whole thing is messed up because Ralphie is obviously dating Rosalie. So it's just, it's sick. It's sick. Is this going to be the last time we see Gloria? I don't know because she's weird and crazy and it's just, who knows, man. That was like some weird obsessive stuff already, right? To first, like she wanted to like hold the gun. And like, while I get that to a point, just the fact that we kind of know that she's already a little bit crazy didn't make that scene fun to watch. Um, yeah, she drives Carmela home. Carmela is just trying to like be a nice person. I guess that was her mistake, trying to be a nice person and like talk to her or talk to Gloria the whole way to their house. Gloria's like speeding. She's like super angry. She can't control her temper. We've already seen that multiple times. But yeah, she finds out about Carmela, drives Carmela home, tells Tony about it. Of course, he freaks out, man. Like the whole thing is so crazy, insane. This one, yes. What about when Jackie calls Tony at home and they're on the phone and they do the whole, you know, Tony's like, why are you calling here? You never freaking call here. Don't call me. I don't want to know. It's your problem now. Whatever, right? Jackie hangs up after asking Tony for help. And that little girl, she says to him, she goes, do you know how to play chess? And Jackie goes, no. Then she goes, I do. My daddy taught me, or my dad taught me. And do you know why that is so freaking cool? And of course, this is my own personal like what I saw, right? So if you saw something different, definitely always let me know. Because Sal and I will watch these and I'll say something. He'll be like, oh, yeah, but what about like this? And he'll give me like his perspective, like as a dude, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't get that. Like, it's like me trying to explain the Carmela parts to like a dude. Maybe you'll get it, but sometimes you just have to be a woman, right? And yeah, so Jackie goes, no. The little girl goes, I do. My dad taught me, which is so crazy because chess is like this strategic game, this very strategic game, kind of like the organized crime, right? The whole organized crime game, very strategic. And we know Jackie is not cut out for this, obviously, because of this mistake that he just made, right? That was a very big thing. Sunshine died, man, right? So, and Carlo, two fatalities, man. Fatalities, But yeah, his dad never taught him how to be in this business because he didn't want him in it, right? Because he didn't want him in the business. As we see with Tony, they want to still deal with their stuff, but they're not trying to get out of it at the same time. But they don't want their kids in it. They keep saying, like, you try to give your kids the best. They're trying to make all this money so they can send their kids to schools, good schools, so their kids have a way out. We see Jackie trying to get into it after his dad passes away. I mean, Richie. Richie didn't teach him anything either because Richie's dead, you know? Um, so this kid never learned the ropes. He doesn't know how to play chess because his dad never taught him, which is also so crazy because when we talk about or when we hear about AJ and Dr. Melfi is talking to Tony about AJ, and Tony says, my kid would never make it in this business. But is this the same freaking mistake that we saw with Jackie Sr. and Jackie Jr.? Is that the same thing that's happening? Tony's already saying, oh, no, AJ wouldn't be good in this. But I don't know what the hell. He needs to figure it out. I don't know what the heck. I'm going to send him to military school and maybe he'll just figure it out. The kid has no guidance, right? And it's very crazy. It's very crazy. That's why that was probably my favorite part. Jackie doesn't know how to play chess and Jackie doesn't know how to play chess, AJ is expelled from school because the school had his DNA from the pee, from the urine that he left on the scene. That was super funny. And I think after that, the last thing that we're going to talk about is about Jackie Jr. dying. Unexpected. I really was sitting there just, and like I said, like I'm trying to stay away from like reading too much about it. Because the only thing that I know, of course, is, that Tony passes away at the end of the seasons. Spoilers. But we already knew that, right? Or you already know that if you're watching, or maybe you don't. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But yeah. So I'm trying to stay away from knowing too much about what happens in the next couple of seasons so I could really be like, yes, oh my God, it was so crazy. We want to give like still on air, currently happening energy here. Okay. So that's what I'm going for. Um, Jackie Jr. dies. I was not expecting that. I thought him and Meadow were going to end up getting back together and it being like a huge thing. And they were going to end up being like organized crime head families, just like Tony and Carmela or something, right? But like bigger? I don't know. So that was crazy. We see Meadow losing it because, of course, she just dated Jackie. And she, like her mother, saw the softer sides of Jackie. She ended up, I don't know, falling in love, but she had like a definite soft spot for Jackie. She knew that his parents didn't really care about what he was doing as long as he wasn't doing what they didn't want him to do. And that's about it. So she's more like her mom than she thinks, I guess. And she's throwing stuff at Junior because she's drunk at the end. And Junior is singing this beautiful song in Italian, and everyone is just so enamored, and everyone is just so entranced and watching him, and he's getting into it. His eyes are closed, he's like singing it, you know, and the music switches to like different languages. What does that mean? Does that mean that like this could literally be happening in any other um type or any other group of people, regardless of language, and it still hits the same? Is that what it means? That's what I ended up getting from that. Um, but it was a little bit confusing. But yeah, thank you for joining me for the video of the rest of season 3 of The Sopranos. I'm gonna keep doing this because I feel like I'm already in too deep to not. And it's just a good time, dude. Like, it's just a good time. So we'll keep at it. And very soon I'm gonna have to think about what I'm gonna do next. What series I'm gonna do next. So maybe I'll make like a separate video about that. But anyway, I don't want to keep you too long. I'll see you next time.